That's an introduction. Ooh. Oh. Okay, rhythm section. It's worth mentioning that when you have movement of the hips and the shoulders, that it actually does a lot of good things for your breath. One of the things that can be very difficult and quite damning to a vocal thing, to singing, is when the torso is very, very tight, because all of a sudden you have to deal with the larynx is going down because the back muscles are pulling down muscles that are connected to it. You have a hard time inhaling and managing an inhale because you're so stiff, and that means that the exhale is going to be, bad. I don't, Chante doesn't need to do things like this, but it's useful for other folks to know. Nice, a little playing with time there. It's not fair that she's like an incredible singer, right? If she just stood there and sang, no one would complain. It'd be amazing. But instead, she goes and demonstrates that she's got moves. And so now I have to reconcile with the fact that I cannot shake my hips. That, for those of you who don't know, is a symptom of being chronically Caucasian. Is it tacky to say that there's merch down below this early in the video? Probably, but there's chronically Caucasian merch drop. Because I have no taste. It's not enough that she's an amazing singer, right? Look at it, she got moves. Ooh, lovely run. That's a pretty neato little sound there. Neato. Well, you know what? It's peachy keen. What I like about it is that she has her false folds in more of like a speaking position. In general, Chante kind of keeps them a little wider than what you would see from more pop singing today. She keeps them pretty wide, which gives you that lush sound. And what she's doing is she kind of brings them a little closer together and raises the larynx, just to kind of like be able to have a little bit more facility moving around in a run like that. And then she gradually opens up when she's on the higher note. It's beautiful. So when you undo the thyroid cartilage tilt, right? This is the Adam's apple. Everyone has a thyroid cartilage, obviously just more pronounced with men. If you can tilt that, which is where vibrato comes from, it'd be very difficult to move as quickly as if it were not tilted. And the reason being is that when you tilt the thyroid cartilage, the vocal folds are connected to it here. So it tilts and it stretches the vocal folds, which gives you a lot more power, makes them taut, right? And so they can handle a lot more breath pressure. In other words, you get louder. However, what you do miss is the ability to kind of go quickly in and out. So you na. You hear that? It's just a little bit harder. That sweet horn section, and then they just go to an intimate piano. Okay. That's beautiful. One of the things that I really like here is she's giving emphasis to the consonants, which will, make the phrases a little bit different, different little flavor. But what she's also doing that I really, really like is the breath stays consistent. Point of the exercise that everyone thinks they're beyond, right, is the idea that you give a visual cue of how your breath is, if it's consistent or not. So if you do, right, that's inconsistent. So one of the things that can be very challenging, as a matter of fact, actually there are a lot of opera singers that literally just like didn't sing consonants. Pavarotti is particularly guilty of that in certain places. What she's doing is she's honoring the consonants while also keeping the breath very, very consistent. Not ba-dum-bum-bum, right? Da-dum-dum-da, right? She holds on that, and she relax my love, right? All those singable consonants, she just kind of gives them a little bit more time. Oh, boy. So the technical term for this is throat gymnastics. Obviously, I'm teasing a little bit, but what's going on here is incredible. So there's two different cartilage pieces that can move within the larynx that will affect the difference between like belting and then more of like a classical going up, right? Like vibrato and all that stuff. What she's doing here is she goes up using a cricoid tilt, which what that does is it will fatten the vocal folds, and that's what we associate with belt, right? pressure builds up, and then it can go like that. And the danger of belt is that whoop, boom, right? The fat, there's a lot going on. It's really dramatic. But if you grow up doing it and you just do it, then it's fine. So she goes up, and listen to how in time with the piano she is, right? Incredible. Another thing too that we should listen for is that at the end where she goes away from the vibrato and the thyroid cartilage tilt, she gives a huge aspirate, like a. What that does is it forces the folds open. It's like a reset. It's really smart. Oh my goodness, beautiful. Never in my life have I heard a better decrescendo. I mean, it literally vanishes. It's so perfect. So there's a couple of there's reasons why this is quite difficult. So when we decrescendo, what we're usually doing is we're trying to lessen the breath pressure, but also thin the folds out at the same time, which there is a symbiotic relationship with that. This is what we call the Bernoulli effect. So if I take these two pieces of paper, you see how they're coming together, and what that does, or what's happening rather, is that the air in between makes the breath pressure, the pressure of the air on the outside greater than the pressure on the inside. And that's kind of how the vocal folds work, is you gently let air in, and the folds will kind of come together. So that's so good. Oh my god. So the idea here, if we follow up on that logic, is it will be right, and so that's what happens with a lot of less experienced singers when you have when you're trying to decrescendo. Is you will flip the folds open into something more close to like a falsetto, and that does work. That does make things very quiet, but it's a very, very different tone, and that's not what we're hearing from her. I mean, come on. Sorry, Chante, but that's more than all right. So the way to practice this is just to go, no. And what you'll notice is that you have to have really expanded posture. Look at that posture, super, super elegant posture there. So what I'm really enjoying is like she'll go from this. Oh, so she'll do that, right? She'll have this very kind of round sound. She'll not make it as brassy, and then she'll introduce brassiness. And it's really a smart way of going about things, because you're never singing the same way twice, and that makes it a lot more interesting and compelling. But what I love about it is then she goes and does this. Wow, her use of the consonants there. You look at her mouth shape, and the sides of the lips are the same as the height of the lips. It's the box, if you will. Now, this is not something you aspire to. You don't go like, I'm going to sing with the box. It's more like a tell. Are you singing correctly? Well, you're about to find out. What I love about what she's doing is that she is delivering like different vowels, right? She goes from where she was at before and then goes into these really bright vowels. But if you notice the lips, it's flawless, right? It's not right, like a silly musical theater audition from hello my honey, hello my none of that stuff, right? Super bright but super even and balanced. Okay, belt. All right. That makes me very happy. That is marvelous. We're just gonna listen to it one more time. Okay, belt. All right. Ooh, there is so much to like about that. Hell, I'm loving it. What is that copyrighted? I don't even know. So what's okay? I'm very excited. So the reason why I find that incredible is one, it is, but two, she goes for this nice strong belt. Then she has that cricoid cartilage tilt. Then it starts to untilt, and then the thyroid cartilage tilts. If you remember what we talked about, the thyroid cartilage gives you that vibrato. And then from there, she flips into falsetto by using the aspirate. Remember how we said that can be kind of reset? That's what she does, and then goes into this falsetto. You get everything with this woman. It's amazing. In order to get that, in order to achieve that, you need to do what's called an aspirate abrupt. To get that reset, it's ha. right? That blows the folds open. And then the abrupt part comes from the fact that I put a lot of air behind it, and so I get less of a vertical and more of a flat line. And more visible on this part right here. And there's the aspirate gradual, which is right? There's that V, it's that longer V. And so she's playing with that. You know, she's not just doing abrupt, gradual, she's kind of playing with it a little bit. It's really cool. Okay, so we will talk about the whistle, but there is other things in that phrase that are still interesting. You notice she's kind of she cranes her neck like this, and you hear a little bit of nasal, very intentional. And what's nice when you do that, and this might not be what she did on purpose, but this is something to take note of, and it's smart, and you should use it. What she's doing there is she's nasalizing. She's which does give a little bit more of that, you know, kind of bitey sound, but it also has another effect. More air will leave faster without causing the pitch to go down, which means that the whistle, which is going to take so little air, it's ridiculous. It's going to take so little air, and so to do that kind of a dump of air and then go up to the whistle, I mean 200 IQ. Take that, Einstein. I guess Einstein was cool too. You'll probably notice, like if you play that back, that she does do an inhale, but look at her posture and the difference. So the way she's managing the whistle is she's actually not doing a big inhale, which gives you the same effect, right? So she's tightening her abs a little bit. She's not clenching. Just exhaling naturally and kind of moves that stomach in, and you'll notice her posture gets a little crumpled, right? And what that does is it will allow for smaller inhale. So usually if you hear the breath, like that's a very shallow breath, and in a lot of instances that's not what you want to do, but in this instance it allows her to hit these really absurdly high notes because she is not gasping in a bunch of air and then having to get rid of it. So it's pretty neat. Oh, decrescendo on a whistle? No! Get out of here! Okay, so why is the decrescendo on a whistle difficult? Well, first of all, if there was any doubt, you are in trouble. I don't know with who, but you're in trouble. The reason why a decrescendo on a whistle is so difficult is because the folds are already very thin. That's one element, is how do you thin them out even more, but also keep that little hole in the vocal folds so that you get that whistle effect, but also have enough breath so that you don't flip the vocal folds, so you need to use even less breath, and it's just insane. It's insane. Okay, this can't be kosher. My dog wants to see what's up. She's like, whoa, we got a whistle here? What's this? Ooh, that fry. Look at that. Listen to that. That distortion. Let's go. That is what we call having a loss for words. So the reason why that's good and totally worth the Elmer Fudd impression. Anyone even remember Looney Tunes? I feel old. The reason why this is awesome, because it's awesome, is that she's doing this thing that requires extremely little breath. She is using her false folds and rubbing them together to create that distortion. And if you want to know how that feels, it's actually quite difficult. So if you go as you're exhaling, go to like stop your exhale, right? Hold your breath, all right? But do it slowly, and what you'll feel is that there's this closing feeling, like that closing feeling. That's the false folds coming together. And so in order for that, if you're doing it, right, it doesn't feel good, right? And so the only way you can make that work is by using a ton of support to basically suspend the amount of air that is coming out. It's very, very, very exact, even though it sounds like, all that stuff. It sounds great. It sounds gritty, but it's very, very technical. Oh boy, come on now. Oh my god, this woman is next level. Oh my god. It's an epidemic, taking the world by storm. Those affected lose hope and have trouble getting back to their lives. I thought it was fine. I didn't think anything was wrong. Except something is very wrong. Tears, they do not lie. I was in the grocery aisle, it's just staring at me. A condition that affects 30% of the world. I couldn't help myself. I'm not a bad person. Copious amounts of mayonnaise are ingested by those struggling with the disease. I just get back to my life.